In this video, I want to talk about the differences between microdosing psilocybin from magic mushrooms and microdosing LSD. If you'll recall, in my first video about microdosing, I only started microdosing earlier this year in January, and what I started microdosing with was magic mushrooms. That practice worked so well for me that by the time June came around, I naturally started feeling like I no longer needed to be doing it anymore, and so I stopped microdosing. Microdosing magic mushrooms had enhanced my ability to stay present in the here and now among a whole host of other benefits that I was able to tangibly notice. It had gotten me to the point where I felt like I could manage on my own, and that's exactly what ended up happening. I was able to manage on my own and more than thrive on my own. But about 3 weeks ago, I started microdosing again, and this time it was with a substance that I had never tried before. As you know, there are a number of myths floating around about LSD, and I didn't know what I didn't know. There was also a part of me that thought, why fix what isn't broken? If LSD and psilocybin mushrooms are two of the most popular substances for microdosing, and I'd already had such a positive experience with one of them, why experiment with the more stigmatized substance? But as I started learning more about that substance, I became more and more curious about trying it for myself. For instance, did you know that the person who first synthesized LSD called it medicine for the soul? This was Albert Hofmann, who we got introduced to in a previous video. Albert Hofmann lived to the age of 102, and he was a regular user of LSD in small doses. Did you also know that if it hadn't been for a breakthrough that he had had on an acid trip, Nobel Prize winner Francis Crick might never have discovered DNA? Steve Jobs himself was reportedly a psychonaut, so who knows? Maybe if it hadn't been for LSD, we might never have had the personal computer as we know it today. So I'm 3 weeks into microdosing LSD now, and I feel like I'm at a point now where I can make this video. I can talk about the differences between microdosing psilocybin mushrooms and microdosing LSD. If you're interested in an LSD microdosing FAQ video, I can also make that, and we can chat about the nitty-gritty of microdosing LSD in a future video. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. Let's begin with the basic differences between LSD and magic mushrooms. The first obvious difference is the form that it comes in. Magic mushrooms come from the ground, whereas LSD comes from a lab. There's also a naturally occurring version of LSD that comes from fungi that apparently grow in certain regions after an unusually wet season, but from what I've read, that fungi is apparently really rare. And so for the most part, the better known version of LSD is the synthetic version. The second obvious difference between the two drugs is the history behind them. Magic mushrooms have been used by civilizations for thousands of years, whereas LSD is a more modern invention. A standard dose of magic mushrooms is 1 to 2.5 grams, whereas a standard dose of LSD ranges from 50 to 150 micrograms. And there are 1 million micrograms in a gram. A microdose is about 1/10 of a standard dose. So this means that a microdose of magic mushrooms ranges from 100 milligrams to 250 milligrams, whereas for LSD, a microdose ranges from 5 to 15 micrograms. Two other obvious differences between the two substances are onset and duration. For magic mushrooms, you can start to feel its effects within 30 minutes to an hour of ingestion, whereas for LSD, you can expect to feel its effects within 20 minutes. The primary effects of magic mushrooms last between 4 and 6 hours, while the primary effects of LSD last between 10 and 12 hours. A standard mushroom trip is often said to come in waves, whereas a standard LSD trip peaks at around 2 hours in and declines to half of the peak experience approximately 1 to 2 hours later. So you can use your imagination to fill in the gaps when I say that a microdose is approximately 1/10 of a standard dose. In a previous video, I referred to a microdose as a subperceptual dose, so I want to take the opportunity to clarify what that really means. Subperceptual in the context of microdosing doesn't mean unnoticeable. You're not supposed to not notice that you're on a microdose. Frankly, whether you're microdosing LSD or magic mushrooms, you should still be able to notice a slight alteration of your perceptions. The difference is that on a standard dose, you wouldn't be able to go about your day as usual because all of your attention would be invested in the experience of the trip. On a microdose, however, you should still be able to conduct most of your day-to-day activities. The effects of microdosing can still be felt, however small and unobstructive they are compared to standard dosing. Of course, If it's your first time microdosing, you should avoid activities like driving. Everybody's tolerance is different, and even at the level of microdosing, no two dosages are exactly the same because we can't precisely measure what goes into a single microdose. It's impossible. We can get as close as we can, and certainly there are lots of benefits to doing it that way, but there's no such thing as perfect consistency when it comes to measuring out the amounts. So for this reason, I personally don't drive on microdosing days, and especially not when the substance is peaking. Now, what about the difference in experience between the two substances? On magic mushrooms, I feel more introspective. I feel like I'm more open to perspectives that I normally wouldn't consider, and there's more of a sense of reverence that comes with the feeling of being one with my surroundings. Magic mushrooms help me feel more connected to my body. They provide more of a grounding bodily sensation, which I believe is what makes magic mushrooms such a great tool for use in meditation. On LSD, I feel more extrospective. I feel more energized and creative, whereas magic mushrooms make me feel more grounded and at peace. LSD makes me want to go out and do things and write things, create things, and sometimes even talk to people, which is a big deal because I consider myself an introvert. LSD fills me with stimulating clarity, whereas magic mushrooms fill me with a grounding sense of peace. A microdose of LSD seems like it was designed to enhance my worldly endeavors, whereas a microdose of psilocybin helps me get anchored to the core of my being. Hopefully that made sense. Now, which is better? Of course, there's no way to answer this question because we're comparing apples to oranges in some ways. In the long run, psychedelic compounds are psychedelic compounds, and that means you can expect to gain the shared benefits of neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, and a reduction of activity in the default mode network of the brain, which enables ego death. All psychedelics in the long run can enhance your creativity, spirituality, and overall mental health. But in acute cases, there are tangible differences between various different psychedelic substances. I want to frame this bit of the video in the way that I would offer advice to a friend. So take my 2 cents for what it's worth. If you're planning to microdose for mental health or pain management reasons, I would recommend starting with magic mushrooms. If you're depressed, chronically anxious, or are generally on a lower vibrational setting, magic mushrooms can help lift you out of your negative mood state. This doesn't mean that magic mushrooms are an instant happy pill. If anything, they can be better understood as therapy pills. Anybody who's been to therapy will tell you that therapy can be hard work. The work of healing yourself doesn't always leave you feeling like $1,000,000 in the immediate aftermath. Therapy can be hard, but you can trust that it is certainly good for you. The more you can trust and surrender to the process, the smoother the experience will go, and the same goes for magic mushrooms. If you fight it, it won't go smoothly for you. Knowing now what I didn't know then, would I have still started with microdosing magic mushrooms? Up until earlier this year, I felt like I was in a place where I needed to raise my emotional and energetic vibration, and that I had some inner healing that I needed to do before I could be fully present sitting before you. I feel like I was able to do everything that I sought out to do with the assistance of magic mushrooms, among other practices like regular meditation and therapy. But now that I've gotten to a point where I feel confident in the healing that I've done, my intention now is to create. So if you were to ask me today what my preference is for microdosing, I would say LSD, and here's why. LSD enhances my ability to problem solve and come up with new ideas. It stimulates me and enhances my focus, and I can channel all of that energy into work that I deeply care about. Microdosing LSD enables me to maintain more flexibility in my day. I can be out in nature, sitting in front of a screen, or talking to friends and still feel like I'm getting an added boost from the experience. Whereas with psilocybin, I prefer to do it on days in which I have more of an open schedule to myself. So in summary, this is what I would say to you. If you're looking to microdose for mental health reasons, try magic mushrooms to start. If your mental health is already in a good place and you're looking to microdose for creative or productivity reasons, I feel like you would really like LSD. Of course, every experience is different, and so are our individual preferences, so I would never claim to be the final authority on anything. No matter how you choose to go about this practice, however, it's important that you treat it as a sacred practice. This means taking the time to do your own research, which I know many of you guys are, and it also means starting slow and going slow. I'm going to provide some links to further readings for you in the description box below, and these are articles that I've consulted prior to scripting this video because I wanted to just verify that my experiences weren't total anomalies, and I'm happy to report that it doesn't seem like they were. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please leave a comment below, give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Also, don't forget to let me know whether or not you'd like to see another video just about the nitty-gritty of LSD microdosing. Okay, bye.